Hello and welcome back to Punxsutawney Library Storytime. I'm so glad you can join us today. This week we have a lot of holidays going on. Or this whole month we had Groundhog Day on February 2nd. Sunday we had Valentine's Day. And on Wednesday we have Mardi Gras. But there's one other holiday. It's not a real holiday, but another celebration that we have that is not very well known. And it is the birthday of George Ferris, who invented the big wheel. Have you ever been to a carnival? I'm sure you like carnivals, right? What did you see there? Did you play games there? What kind of games? Did you ever do pick a ducky and has a number on the bottom and you get a prize? Or ring toss? And you can win a prize, or you can make sand bottles, have face paintings, and then there are different rides. Some of the rides like merry-go-round or bumper cars. You have food like hot dogs, cotton candy, lemonade. And one of the rides is called a Ferris wheel. So today I will tell you a little bit about how we got the Ferris wheel. This book is called Sky High, George Ferris's Big Wheel. It was written by Monica Culling, and it is read with permission from Random House, New York. George loved to watch the big water wheel go round and round. It scooped up a river water for people and animals to drink. It watered fields. It ground corn into meal. George loved the sound of the turning wheel. See George as a boy watching. It was 1867. George Washington Gale Ferris Jr. lived on a ranch in Nevada. George rode horses. He did chores, and the water wheel turned. See it in the background? The water wheel on the Carson River turned through winter and spring, summer and fall. As the wheel turned, George grew taller and taller. George left home to go to school at age 14. When he graduated from college, he was ready to work as an engineer. He would design bridges and roads, canals and dams. George moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He got his dream job. He was asked to design a bridge across the Allegheny River. George often brought his dog Sal along to watch the workers building his bridge. George married Margaret in 1886. He started his own business. Men put up the sign, G.W.G. Ferris and Company. It's a humdinger, said George. Margaret agreed. Woof, barked Sal. She liked it too. It was in 1892. A World's Fair was coming to Chicago in 1893. Engineers wanted to build something eye-catching, like Paris's Eiffel Tower. Margaret read about it in the papers. There's a competition, she said. You must enter. Margaret packed George's bag. He took a train to Chicago to meet with other engineers. Daniel Burnham was in charge of the fair's buildings. Everyone wanted to build a tower. We're not copying Paris, he said. George sat quietly in a corner, doodling on a napkin. Mr. Burnham looked at the doodle. People would ride on the wheel, said George. They would have a bird's-eye view of the fair and of Lake Michigan. It won't work, said Mr. Burnham. It's a crazy idea, shouted others. Mr. Burnham rejected George's drawings 3 times. "Winds will tear your wheel to pieces," he said. "People will fall to the ground. Think up another idea." But time was running out, and no one had a better idea. In December, Mr. Burnham agreed to let George build his wheel. But he would have to pay for it himself, and it had to be ready on opening day, May 1st, 1893. Could George do it? None of the banks in town would lend George money. They laughed him out the door. They had never heard of such a crazy idea. George's friends helped. They found rich men who were willing to give him the $400,000 he needed. Now the work could begin. While George wanted to call the ride the Monster Wheel, no one would let him. It was called the Ferris Wheel. Digging began in January. It was one of the worst winters on record. Workers had to use dynamite to blast the frozen ground. 8 holes were dug to pour in concrete for the base. It had to hold the weight of 2 million pounds. George built train tracks so that a freight train could haul the wheels parts to the building site. The center or axle weighed 70 tons. It was the largest piece of steel ever forged in America. The wheel was built one pie-shaped section at a time. The day came when the last piece was hoisted up. Would it fit? George hoped his math was correct. It was. The piece fit. See the 2 wheels? And the little spots in the middle? The fair had already begun, but the wheel wasn't ready. 36 steel cars still had to be put on. Each car would hold 60 passengers. On June 10th, the crew began to hang the cars. When the job was done, the wheel looked like the water wheel George had loved as a boy. On June 21st, a crowd gathered at the Ferris wheel. George made a speech. He blew a whistle. Tweet! It was time for the first ride. George, Margaret, and Sal got into a steel car. So did the mayor of Chicago. A 40-piece orchestra came along for the ride, too. Slowly, the big wheel turned. The wheel went round and stopped at the top. They could see for miles. Margaret toasted George. The orchestra played America the Beautiful. Then slowly the wheel started again. George's wheel was 264 feet tall. Today many Ferris wheels are much taller. The high roller in Las Vegas is more than twice as tall as George's big wheel. This one was George's. And this one is the one in Las Vegas. It's much, much bigger. In 2015, New York City began to build the country's biggest wheel, designed to be nearly 630 feet tall. The view should be amazing, just as it was from George Ferris's first wheel. The end. Isn't it amazing how he can build something like that just from what he saw when he was a little boy? Or maybe someday you guys will figure something out that you can build and engineer when you're older, just from things that you saw today. For our craft today, we will not build a real Ferris wheel, but do a little bit of craft that looks like a Ferris wheel. You will need either a paper plate or cut out a circle out of white. Probably should take cardstock, it's a little bit thicker. Then you're going to need different colors of construction paper. I have yellow and green and orange and purple. From the purple one, we cut little strips all the way through, maybe like 3/4 of an inch wide. And then cut them in half. You take your paper plate or your white circle and poke a hole in the middle, and then glue your strips from the hole out, just like that. We need 8 of these strips, 8 of these half strips. In the end, I already did that for you. It will look like this. Now this one is sticking out a little bit, so we're just going to take the scissor and trim it. So it's right here at the edge. Make sure you leave the hole here empty when you glue your strips down. These are our little axles for our cars go on. And you can put that aside. And you can cut little like 2x2 inch squares. I have like in orange and yellow, and I have a couple green ones. And you will need 8 of them. So cut out 8 pieces, 8 squares like that. And draw little people in them. Those are your cars that go on the Ferris wheel. Okay? We also will need a little circle with a hole in it. And once you have that circle, cut out and put the hole in. Now let's see if our glue works. Yep, here it goes. We put some glue on the back of that little circle and glue it in the middle. Make sure you line up the holes. I'm going to take my pencil so I can show you the holes. See, the holes have to line up. Okay? So, now while you have this one dry a little bit, you can draw all your little people in your car. You can keep a couple empty. I have some where Miss Nina and I drew little people in. And then I have some that I left empty because not all the cars are full all the time. Then we take some glue and put it on the back of our squares. And I will show you where we're going to glue them. And we glue them on the end here. So we put one on each of them. You can make it a pattern if you like. You can make it all the same color. You can have your, you can have 3 yellows together and 3 orange together. It's really up to you, however you want your little pieces to line up. Okay, almost done. All right, 2 more. Let's hope they all stay on, since I don't have a whole lot of time to dry them. Okay, last one. Okay, this one is a little bit crooked here, so but it looks kind of like that. This one is crooked. It should be a little bit straighter than that. Then we take a little pipe cleaner. Mine is orange, but you can have any color you want. And poke it through the hole. And we will add a little bead to it. And then just twist your pipe cleaner to secure that bead a little bit so it stays on. Okay. In the back of your wheel, we have 2 more beads, pony beads like that, and we put those in all the way. That gives us a little bit a distance. Okay, just like that. And then you can bend your pipe cleaner, and you can either leave it like that, or if you want it a little bit more sturdy, I have a plastic straw, and I'm going to put the pipe cleaner through, because it's a little bit easier for me to hold the pipe cleaner like that. Okay, now let's see if we can spin our little Ferris wheel. Look at that. Look at all the cards go around. And here's your own little paper Ferris wheel. I hope you like that. Now for some of you who are a little bit older that like to watch our show, I have a challenge for you. The Ferris wheel we made is very simple. But if you have maybe some connects at home, or cardboard, or popsicle sticks, you could make a Ferris wheel that looks just like the one in the book. You would need 2 wheels and some spokes. So you could line up your, you could glue like your sticks on the outside, and then glue some in the middle, glue them all together so you have a wheel. And you would need 2 of them and connect them. And you need a little base and to hook it on. There's lots of really cool ways of doing that. If you go on Pinterest and you Google Ferris wheel made of popsicle sticks, you will get some really, really nice ways of doing that. But maybe you have your own ideas how you could build a Ferris wheel. I would love for you to go try it out and build one, and then post it on below the video in the comment and show me what you did. Or if you decide you want to do an easier one like the one we did here, post that. I would love to see your results. Well, that is it for today. I would like to remind you to come down for the craft bags that we have at the library for you. This time you will get some masks to decorate, so you can make a mask for Mardi Gras. And I hope you had fun, and I hope I see you again next week. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Time to go. Time to go. Thank you, friends, for coming. Hope to see you next week. Love you so. Love you so. Bye.